Some people ask me, why Europe? What connection do you have with Europe? Why are you so concerned about Europe? I spent 2 months in Paris in the summer of 1982 studying French and French culture. I loved it. And my wife studied organ music in Germany. And I went with her for a master class in Germany and Switzerland. My son is going to university in England. He went to boarding school and university in England. So I have many connections with Europe. And why not Europe? I am a man of God. I am a minister of the gospel. And I will go wherever the Spirit of God leads me. I lived in Canada and the U.S. for 15 years, but I came back to Korea not because I'm a Korean, but because God opened up opportunities for ministry in Korea. So I spent the last 30 years in Korea, 30 years of my life pastoring churches in Korea. And now I'm 60 years old, but I believe that the Lord is opening a new door for me at this point in my life, reintroducing Christianity to Europe. What do you mean, reintroduce? It means that instead of assuming Europe is already Christian, instead of assuming it, Europe has entered a post-Christian era. They have the heritage of Christianity, they have memories of Christianity, but they don't have Christ living in them. They don't have the substance of faith in them. People have departed from the faith. And so the tradition of Christianity, the heritage and memories of Christianity do not automatically make people Christians. And so instead of trying to bring back the memories, instead of appealing to the tradition and heritage of Christianity, let us presume that we have to do it all over again. We have to preach the gospel all over again. Consider Europe as a new mission field and present the gospel to them all over again. Instead of assuming they are already Christians, let us consider them as unreached people, or people who want to hear it all over again and present the gospel to them again. That is my thesis. Reintroduce Christianity to post-Christian Europe. And this kind of thing happens to every generation, to every household. Say a household was a Christian in religious heritage. The grandfather was a pastor, the father was an elder of a church, the mother was a devout Christian, but the children and children's children, we can't assume that they are Christians just because their ancestors were Christians. We can't assume that they are Christians because they were brought up in a Christian environment. We can't assume somebody's a Christian just because they went to a Christian school. That does not guarantee that Jesus lives in their hearts. It doesn't guarantee that they have a real relationship with Jesus Christ. So the need to reintroduce Christianity to people exists in every generation, in every situation, in every society. And Europe is no exception. Any culture, America has been experiencing revival for over a century, and Americans consider the U.S. to be a Christian nation, but we can't guarantee that U.S. will continue to be a Christian nation one generation from now. So when that happens, what do? Do we give it up? Do we say, well, secularism has prevailed and give it up? No. Every generation we have to reintroduce the gospel to people. Instead of assuming that the current generation believes because the past generation believed, let us consider them as unreached people, people in need of hearing the Word of God for the second time. And that's the thesis of my book. Many books, many articles have been written about the spiritual condition of Europe, and most of them described, analyzed from theological, cultural, sociological, historical perspectives, what has taken place in Europe to make it post-Christian. And many good books have been written, but very few people have proposed solutions about what we need to do about it now. What should we do, and what kinds of things that churches should do, and how we can go about reversing the decline of Christianity in Europe. And my book not only analyzes the spiritual condition of Europe from theological, cultural, sociological perspectives, but also I propose concrete steps to reverse this trend and what we can do about it. And my thesis is, let us consider Europe as a mission field, and let's reintroduce Christianity as if the current generation has never heard of Christianity, has never heard the gospel, and just reintroduce Christianity to them. And I also address some of the most controversial issues in the 21st century. Controversial issues that need some authentic discussion, dialogue, and sometimes a new interpretation of Christian theology, Christian ethics. For example, issues like LGBTQ, about sexual ethics, about money, about religious plurality, and the absolute claims of Christianity, and whether American version of evangelicalism is the alternative for European Christianity, and if evangelical Christianity is the alternative, what can we learn from American evangelicalism, and what things we need to sort of revise and change from the current American version of evangelicalism. And all these things, I believe that every generation has to be a new custodian of Christianity, new custodian, a new watchman, new overseer, new supervisor, new preacher, new evangelist, and new prophet. And God has given me certain ideas as prophetic words. Prophetic words mean not that I'm going to predict what's going to happen in the future. Rather, prophecy means speaking forth the Word of God to the current generation. What is God speaking to the current generation? What is God speaking to us? And what is God speaking to churches and ministers and Christian people, Christian leaders, and what kinds of goals should we have? What can we do? What kinds of objectives should we have? And what kinds of purposes should we have? What can we reasonably look forward to? What kinds of things can we expect to take place in our current time? And I believe that the Lord has given me some insights into these things.